Well, hello, and welcome to everybody who's here. My name is Jim Struve, and I'm Executive Director for MenHealing. I'm so appreciative that you all have taken the time to join us today. As a survivor myself, I am passionate about my work. My service is personal, above and beyond my role as Executive Director. I believe that joyful outcomes can emerge from the courage to heal. Sharing stories about joy can inspire others to heal. MenHealing is a grassroots community of individuals devoted to healing and to fostering joyful outcomes. We strive to contribute to a larger purpose of movement building to end sexual violence and to overcome all forms of oppression, including racism. Tonight's program will highlight the joyful healing journeys of several individuals who have received services from MenHealing, each of them discovering personal journeys of joy that have emerged from healing personal trauma. This program is the live launch for our end of 2022 fundraising campaign. Our goal this year is to raise $100,000 before December 31st. MenHealing is a grassroots organization, so the core of our financial support is provided by individual donors like you. Please consider whether you can support us with a monetary gift. Any amount, small or large, helps us continue our work. To start our campaign, we are grateful for a generous donation for one of our Weekend of Recovery alumni and his husband. I am honored for you to meet Alex.
Hi everybody, my name is Alex Mulhoff. It's no exaggeration for me to say that MenHealing changed my life, like I imagine it has for many of you. I know I wouldn't be where I am today without their help and the friendships I've made at my weekends of recovery. There are a lot of people out there who haven't had that experience yet, which is why we're all here tonight. Because there is still so much work to be done, my husband and I are donating $5,000 and we pledge to match an additional $5,000 in donations made tonight.
Thanks, Alec, for such a sweet send-off message. Making a donation of any amount is easy. You can just text 100 in 100 to 44-321 or visit the donation portal at our website, MenHealing.org. Thanks in advance to all of you for your help. So without further delay, let's move on to our program for this evening. We want to start with a brief 5-minute video that includes a spiritual welcome and land acknowledgement by Asha, followed by an introduction of Andrew, Ben, David, and Z, the 4 individual survivors we are featuring today. Rob, also a survivor and a member of our board, will moderate the rest of the program. Thanks again for being here.
Ani, bonjour, nado nagwe Deshnakas. My spirit name is Healing Rainbow Woman, and I'm here today to open the space with a land acknowledgement and also open the intention for the energy that's going to be here today. So with a land acknowledgement, we might be in all different places. So today we're going to actually do an embodied energy exchange with the land, as I always think that's more powerful than just the words that we speak. So as we begin, I'm going to invite you into this space. Take a moment to feel into your body and take a moment to feel into your feet. Take a moment to breathe into your feet. Just take your breath from the top of your body to the bottom of your feet and wiggle your toes around and feel the land beneath your feet. I'm going to acknowledge that I am on the lands of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat people who are still here. I identify as an Anishinaabe-Kwe, an Indigenous woman whose ancestors come from all areas of so-called Ontario and are still here. So as we do this land acknowledgement, I'm going to ask you to also bring forward your own lineage, your own ancestry, your own connection to the lands that you are from, as that awakens the energy that's here. I know we're moving into the energy of trauma, from trauma to joy. So as you acknowledge that, we also acknowledge the energy of our ancestors and perhaps some of the trauma that we carry forward and transmute and bring into the joy that we are sitting here with in this space. I'll get you to close your eyes for this land acknowledgement. perhaps placing your feet flat on the floor, taking a nice deep breath. And as you breathe, feel the energy of your being moving into the land. Feel the land welcoming you. And if you can, feel into the spirit of the land, for all that the land has witnessed, for all that the land has seen, for even the trauma that the land carries. We are made of earth, so we too reflect this trauma in our own beings and bodies. Connect to the joy that this land has experienced, the spirit of the joy that it carries. Connect to the joy that it's seen and witnessed, and acknowledge that as you move that energy into the land. Take a moment in your own way now to acknowledge the peoples that have stewarded this land, have cared for it, those who continue to do that, holding that vision of truth and reconciliation, of reciprocity, so that we may walk in a good way. And as you bring forward your brilliant ancestry, your lineage, just feel the roots that you are extending down to the earth. Move into the lands that you are from, acknowledging all the medicine that you carry, acknowledging all the gifts and the culture and the language. And just bring that forward and present, and offer that as a gift of gratitude to the lands that you find yourself upon today. As you gently open your eyes, I'm going to light a little bit of medicine. I have some sage and some cedar here. And this is simply to bless the space, to honor the space, to bring good medicine as we move trauma into joy. May you be filled with the joy of seeing your transmutation, your evolution. May you feel that joy moving through your heart, your being, your spirit. May you be connected to the medicine that you hold and the gifts that you carry in this world. Taking a moment to honor these earth medicines that we're burning today. And one more time, breathe into your feet and acknowledging the security and stability and safety that the land beneath you holds for you. I thank you for having me here. Miigwech.
Hi, my name is Andrew Vineyard.
I'm Z.
Hi, my name's David Washington.
And I'm Ben.
I'm from a small town in Georgia. Moved out west.
I was born in Wyoming and I now reside in Minnesota.
I'm from Hagerstown, Maryland.
Ventura County, California. I was feeling really lonely and I didn't really know anyone who had gone through what I had gone through.
I was caught up in this world of darkness and despair.
I've realized that I still need support in terms of thriving.
Being in a community that would offer me the ability to look at healing and look at my story. The Men's Story Project was an opportunity for me and other men to come together, workshop our stories, and to share them publicly.
I was looking for community and healing, and the Weekends of Recovery offered me the opportunity to begin my healing journey.
When I decided to join the Speak Out Project, I wanted to do something that was creative. It was an amazing opportunity to work with the community that I had not been able to do before.
I got the opportunity to be a member of the alumni support groups, and it was exactly what I needed. It really helped me a lot.
I look at life as a breakthrough moment.
I'm lovable, and I was always lovable. There's no point in my life where I was not lovable.
I went into this experience looking to find my voice and left raising my voice.
Power was taken away from me, but through MenHealing, I finally feel like I've begun to regain and reclaim my power.
I'm kind of at a point now where I'd say I'm basically thriving. I feel comfortable saying that.
Look at your healing as a beautiful experience. You really have a chance to have hope and joy.
Whew, yeah, just talking about it now, I can really feel the emotion.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Vallentine, and it is my honor tonight to facilitate the panel. And just grateful that Andrew and David and Ben and Z are joining us tonight so that we can learn a little bit about their journey, a little bit about their trauma, a little bit about the joy that they're all experiencing in their life. As I reflect back, especially on my first weekend of recovery, which I went in 2010, I had promised myself that I was never going to tell anyone that I was a male survivor of sexual abuse. I left that weekend and still was not comfortable giving my last name. I had a recovery email address because I was worried. You see my full name up on the screen, and I am here today to tell you that going to not only that weekend in 2010, but also going in 2011 and 2012, and then in the last couple of years being a part of the Men's Story Project, has really allowed me to realize that what happened to me was not my fault. And that I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn, that we heal together. I'm also learning that when I talk about my pain, it becomes a lot less dangerous. And so I am grateful to be here, not only as a male survivor, but from the time of in 2010 of not wanting to put my last name to today representing MenHealing as a board member is an incredible opportunity of me taking what I learned, using my voice that I learned on the weekends of recovery, and now reaching out with really hundreds and thousands of people around the US and the world as we spread the message around MenHealing. So with that, I'm going to ask each one of our panelists some different questions, and let's hear a little bit about each of them. So let's start off first, and I'll go with you starting off, Andrew, is how did the MenHealing event that you attended, how did that impact your recovery?
You know, I went to MenHealing. I was very lucky to meet Jim Struve when I was living in Salt Lake City. And I learned about that program, the Weekends of Recovery. And I was not sure what I was going to expect. I mean, I just went there with kind of an open mind. But as far as the impact, it gave me a community. It was the first time I was in a place where I could say that I'd been sexually abused and have, I mean, the first time I really just straight up said it actually was at that weekend of recovery. And yeah, I ended up with an incredible support group because of it, and people that resonated with and also were able to make space for it. So it taught me how to, it was the beginning of a little seed that got planted of me having a community, a healing community. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Z, how about you? I know that you participated in the Story Project for trans and non-binary. Would you be willing to share a little bit about how that event has been helpful in your healing?
Yeah, I found the project just through, I believe it was an Instagram post. And one of the things that drew me to that project is they weren't just asking us to tell our story in a traditional storytelling way, but allow us to be creative and expressive with our art or our dance or our music. And for me, I express myself through dance and spoken word. So I was able to combine all that into this healing project. I'm still friends with several of the people in the project. We created a community of support, and it really allowed me a place to speak my truth and have it be okay and supported as a non-traditional person. And it was really rewarding and uplifting to have that community where I didn't have it before.
Great, thank you, Z. And Ben, I know you recently went on a MenHealing event. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has impacted your life?
Yeah, I attended the Weekends of Recovery. I did one in 2021, and I just finished another one in 2022. Just a month ago, and my trauma was pretty recent. It kind of The event ended in 2019. Then COVID happened. So I was lucky to find these weekends where rather than just do like a 1 hour support group over Zoom that I had kind of been doing once a month, this allowed us to get together for an entire weekend, sort of put the phone away, get out the journal, and get to do these longer, in a way, somewhat more intensive sessions, but also to bond with the other guys. There really weren't that many. There's like, just less than 20 men there. So it gave me a chance to really get to know these people and kind of move from like an early step in my trauma recovery to like the next step, because I was still blaming myself when I went on my first weekend last year. And I felt guilty about my story because my abuse happened when I was an adult, not as a child. So I sort of felt like, okay, I don't really belong here. Maybe I'm at the wrong, organization. But very quickly, people were holding space for me, which is not something I'm used to, allowing myself to be held in space. And so that was very impactful for me. And even going this last month to a second weekend, I even got to practice more healing, because it really is something you have to practice. And so, yeah, the weekends are very impactful.
Great, thanks, Ben. And we'll go over to you, David, with our first question here about what is it about the event that you attended? Which one would you like to focus on to let people know about how it has impacted you?
I did the Men's Story Project, and I had entered recovery in 91, or began to look at the consequences of the abuse that I had experienced. And in doing the Men's Project, we met weekly as a group of men, and we had smaller groups where we crafted a story. And in the process of crafting that story, I was parts of me that were awoken that I had not been in touch with. There were some issues around like having a voice, and as Ben said, having space, and not only having space, but having a voice in that space. And as I was writing my story and sharing it on a weekly basis, I began to notice that I became more confident at work and in other places that I would be, to now where it's like I feel able to share more openly about what I'm actually experiencing. And one thing that the abuse did was it took away the abuse, and it kind of allowed for silence to become a way of life. And in doing the Men's Project, I'm not quiet now, and you can't tell me to shut up. So that's one of the gifts of being in space with other men that allow you to share what's going on.
Yeah, that's great, David. It's a reminder of how powerful our own stories are, but also hearing the stories of others. So I'm going to throw it out and just ask a couple of the panelists, whoever would like to chime in. Most of you are unmuted. We'll make sure that you're all unmuted. But if you wanted to jump in with, what are some of the current Men Healing programs that you're involved in? We know that the Men Healing organization has expanded. We are not only weekends of recovery, but we're doing other things, peer leaders. We need volunteers. We're looking at other weekends coming up. So would somebody want to jump in and tell us what you're involved in today with Men Healing?
I'm part of the alumni support group. And so I'm a facilitator for that. And so I get basically what it is 8 guys that were part of attended a weekend of recovery, then join, and me and another alumni basically facilitate an hour-and-a-half session. And it's, I attended one already as a member, not as a facilitator, and it was incredible. And now being a facilitator, it's also awesome to kind of pass some of that on. So that's what I'm part of right now. Yeah. And I was also part of the story project, the same one David was in. fact, we were kind of each other's writing coaches. It was awesome. And yeah, so I've been involved in several things, and also I remember Z because I was trying to help out with the other writing project too, which I was really grateful to be part of all of it. So yeah.
Andrew, if I can follow up on that one before anybody else joins in, is what is the support group like for those individuals? So we know you're a peer leader in that. What is it like for those individuals that are coming and becoming a part of this weekly support group?
You know, it's funny how sometimes it's really just mind-blowing how alone. I mean, I can relate to this, by the way, but how alone so many survivors are, particularly I think male identifying survivors, and how having that space, even though it's once every 2 weeks, an hour and a half, there's several people there that go on how this is like their favorite thing for the next 2 weeks. They really look forward to it, and I do too. It's really, yeah, I think particularly the space I am right now, every group has its own personality, but the group that I'm part of right now, there's just really no judgment. I feel like everyone feels so comfortable just being themselves and telling whatever they need, sharing whatever they need to share, and just acknowledging their story in that space is just, I think, just so powerful for them. It has been for me too. So yeah.
It's great. Thank you, Andrew. Somebody else want to jump in on that one? Are you ready for the next one?
I mean, I'm relatively new to MenHealing, so I've only done the weekends, but I'm looking forward to becoming more involved in the alumni project as well. Yeah, and getting to speak on these panels is really wonderful too. I've gotten to do a few of these, and just building more confidence that way has been great for me.
Yeah, Ben, that's great. I appreciate you throwing out the volunteering, because we were able to be on a panel together with a rape crisis center, which is us going out and doing a program with another organization in communities. But you and others serving as volunteers is really helpful. And that's part of tonight, is to talk not only about what our campaign is, but also looking for volunteers where each of us can become an ambassador. So let me jump into our next one, which our theme tonight is really all about from trauma to joy. And I'm going to ask you just what brings you joy in your life? What is it that brings you joy in your life? Why don't we go with David and Z first? And I think everybody can answer this one. What do you do for joy in your life today?
So for me, I get to travel. And even though it's a little scary to travel across the country now as a person of color, I do feel more confident that I can navigate that. The other thing that I do for joy is that I work with groups around the country and in Africa to form groups of trauma resiliency. And right now we're doing groups in Africa. Women in Africa are forming groups to support themselves in a faith-based situation. And we just started doing trainings here in America in temples, mosques, Catholic settings and places like that, where people that follow those beliefs can go and do some trauma work. So I'm real excited, and that brings a lot of joy to me.
Yeah, David, thank you. That shows the not only are we trying to reach within the local communities, but also around the US and also around the world. I know in my situation, I was also able to, in 2019, share it in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and to share my story in Ecuador, which was pretty incredible. I happened to be there on business, but was also able to share my survivor story. And what you find is that survivors, no matter where we are located, we know that we all in some ways want healing, but we got to figure out what's the best place to connect so that can happen. So Z, let's go to you with what are some things that you do for fun?
One of the things that I do is I just got done with a regional burn. It's like a regional Burning Man. If but they're much smaller than the big one. Otherwise, I dance, I teach yoga. It allows me to use my body in a way that resets my nervous system. And working out, hanging out with my kids, simple everyday things. It's really important to find joy in those everyday moments because we can get so lost in them that we forget to find that joy. And sometimes it's just a sunrise or a sunset or kids laughing. And we just have to take advantage of that and really realize that that's a powerful moment and for us to give thanks.
Great, Z. How about Andrew or Ben? What do you do for joy?
I'm actually a musician by trade. So my entire life is music. I'm a piano player. So I spend a lot of time writing songs, which brings me great joy. I also love theater. So I try to see as many plays in the Los Angeles area as possible, because I also write for theater. And I just love theater as kind of a cathartic storytelling medium. I love getting to see the humanity and the nuances in storytelling. And I'm also an avid reader. To help me with my trauma, I joined a couple book clubs, which is just wonderfully therapeutic. It just gives me something to do. I get to spend time with a book and really be curious about the pages, the way the book is made, and the author, how they came up with the story. So I try to really be present focused in that way. So yeah, that's me.
Great, thanks.
Well, honestly, something I realized is how much I get joy out of connecting with people. I really enjoyed hearing everyone else share and learning about what they're doing. Their life is all really cool and amazing stuff. I do also love the outdoors, anything in the natural world, I'm usually into it. And I love writing, I love reading. I think, writing and reading. I've really gotten to writing for the past few years. Been writing, like trying to do at least an hour a day. So that's been one of my more recent things. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that each of you have shared what you're doing from the joy standpoint. I know that the first time I went on the weekend of recovery, it was hard to think of those things where there was a lot of fun and joy going on, because at that time I was dealing with a lot of the flashbacks of the trauma. And so grateful that actually on the weekend of recovery, we learned about how to have fun. And you all have shown us how important it is that we do some of that self-care for ourselves. So Ben, let's go to you next, and let's jump into what thoughts do you have for those that are just starting their recovery process from sexual abuse? What thoughts do you have?
Yeah, well, I really just started a couple years ago. And it for many people, it can be scary. A lot of times these are not memories you want to bring up again, but I found that in a way, my life was unraveling. I was losing connection with people. I was not able to trust people easily. Had a lot of anxiety with just saying hello and going to a dinner or something. And so for me, it started with curiosity. And it's like this little spark kind of happens. And I decided I must not be the only person going through this. I'm really glad I Googled men's support group and found Men Healing. But I think for anyone looking to start recovery, I think there's that kind of life force energy that a lot of us have, hopefully most of us have, that really pushes us towards wanting to feel better. and not wanting to give up on feeling better. It's painful. A lot of times I think of it like, well, you know, when you break a bone, your body has this magnificent way of healing itself. It's very phenomenal, actually. And so I sometimes like to think that we want to heal emotionally as well. And so I believe in that little spirit that we have that wants to move towards that. And so I kind of follow that. A lot of it is it's having faith in the process, in the communion with these other men in Men Healing. For me, there was the weekends. And sort of taking that little leap of faith and realizing that there's wondrous joy on the other side of that. And it's also not really so much about the destination as it is about the journey towards there. And getting to feel proud about yourself, like, wow, I did that. And I was in such a rough place a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And just getting to develop that self-esteem again is, yeah, that's really what I speak towards.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for sharing that. How about let's jump over here to Z. What are some things that you would recommend for people that are just starting recovery?
I think the biggest thing that I would recommend is to give yourself grace and time. It's a lot of personal inward work, and it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be so worth it. Moving from a place of victimhood to survivorhood to getting through that can be a challenge, but it's so worth it to get to the other side. And like Ben was saying, it's not necessarily about the destination. It's about the journey that you have to take for yourself, for your family, to break the generational cycles if there's something going on there. And just allowing yourself time and patience and knowing that it's okay to approve of yourself. And I think that was a really big challenge for me, is feeling valued again and not just this broken individual who couldn't get past it and had all these quirks because of what happened. And it's not your fault. And you have to know in your heart that you didn't do anything wrong. And it's okay to be sad and have all the emotion. But for me, it was really about giving myself grace and time and patience to make it through. And other people can do that. We all done that. You have to do the work, though.
Thank you, Z. David, over to you.
Thanks. I think one of the most important things that helped me looking back was if I could have been a little more gentle with all parts of myself, physically, spiritually, and mentally, and not have this expectation that because I'm a man, I should be able to do this in a week or two, because it has been a lifelong journey. Finding predecessors that have done the work that I have just a little bit of trust in, because in the beginning I didn't have a lot, but just a little bit of trust in some men and women that I could call, or that would call and say, how you doing tonight? And then being really aware of what I was doing in the evenings, because for me, a lot of trauma stuff happening in the evening. So reading literature, journaling and stuff like that in the evening was a little triggering. And I didn't know not to do that in the beginning. And then I think that resiliency, which can be used a lot, that word, but just knowing that because others were able to bounce back, that there is some hope that I could as well. But the biggest thing was just, if I could have been a little more gentler on myself in the beginning, it could have been easier, but everybody's journey is different. And because of places like this, I was able to get better.
Great. Thank you, David. Andrew, what would you say to some people that are just entering recovery for sexual abuse?
Well, first, I can't help but say I was really moved by everything that was just shared. You know, I'm speaking from very much personal, just how it was for me. Something that I wish. Let me put it this way: when I had the insight, it made things a lot more gentle for me. Was fundamentally understanding that I was not damaged, and that would go out as far as when I would reach out and I'd feel like, oh man, I just dumped this nasty, gross thing on someone. And it took me a while to realize, particularly after people started sharing, that actually when you reached out to me and we had that conversation, it actually helped me a lot too. And I started having that more and more where people, and by the way, it was this beautiful period of my life where without asking, people shared that over and over again. And it reinforced like, oh, what I thought was me expressing this like damaged side of me, it was actually me healing. And it was very helpful for everyone. So I wish that was something, well, it happened when it happened. I'm grateful I had it. But that insight was very powerful. And and knowing that being together with other people who are healthy people can actually is a big part of the healing process, or it was for me, and it still is, having that community. Yeah.
Yeah, great, Andrew. I love the part about where when others reach out to us, it also directly impacts us. They may think they're calling for themselves, but what it does and how it changes us is an incredible process that happens. And I'm thankful that between the words of grace, being able to, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I mean, you all have shared some profound things that not only help the newcomer, but those of us that have been on the journey for a while as well. So we're going to jump in. We've got about 10 more minutes, and we're going to jump into a question. I'm going to ask you, where do you see yourself in a year and in 5 years, maybe even 10 years? And I'll start off with mine. I really want to write a book. If I ever write a book, and again, I'm going from the guy that did not want to give my last name at a weekend of recovery to now thinking about writing a book. But when the crisis at Penn State happened in 2011, I walked into somebody's office at work in corporate America, and they said to me, "How you doing?" We've been at that moment where somebody asks you how you're doing and you have to decide. Well, what I'd done most of my life, I learned to tell you I'm fine, which I've now come to grips with as the 4-letter F word, but I would say fine. And the person looked at me and could tell that something was going on. And I said, actually, the crisis at Penn State is really bothering me. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And this person paused, felt like it was about an hour. And they said, so am I. And when I think about those words, so am I, it allows us to say, yes, so am I a survivor, but there's also much recovery where I'm in recovery and I'm feeling joy, and so am I. There's so many so am I's that can happen. So the short version is, I want to write a book someday. I just got to get on it. So let's jump over to David. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
I thought you said a year.
No, where do you see yourself in a year? You could say a year, 5 years, 10 years.
I love that. In a year, there's this guy named Dan Millman, and he wrote a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And in a year, I hope to grow even more as a person who walks through this space that is loving, caring, and compassionate, despite all the stuff that's going on in the world. 5 years from now, I want to be retired. That's what I want to be. Drinking tea in the villages in Florida.
Awesome. Thank you. So David set the bar here with the 1 year and 5 years. Z, want to go next?
Sure. Let's see. In 1 year, I plan to be teaching yoga part-time. I'm also going to be taking a yoga trauma class. So I'll be able to teach trauma-informed yoga and then working on my therapeutic yoga license. In 5 years, I hope to be teaching therapeutic yoga and teaching other people how to perform therapeutic yoga. Really getting into my creativeness. So, writing books, writing more poetry, performing more on local stages, and just having a good time and being a good person.
Fantastic, Z. How about you, Andrew?
Well, it's scary to admit this. It's been pretty recent that I say this aloud, but I've been working on a novel for almost 2 years, and I've been setting goals and keeping them. So in the next year, I plan to have the first rough draft. I'm on chapter 25 right now. I set a goal for that. But I also have my next goal is to have the first rough draft by October 31st, 2023. And then, so I'm hoping 5 years from now, I was somehow able to get it published. And believe me, I know it's very hard to get a book published these days. So I'm aware that that may not happen. With that said, I'm going to put my heart and soul, and even if it doesn't work out, I'll know it wasn't because I didn't put everything I had into it. And that's what the fact I'm even able to say that aloud, I'm really, really grateful for that. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes. Well, in a year, I'm hoping to have the first draft of an opera that I'm going to write about my abuse, which sounds very dramatic, and it is. In 5 years, hopefully it'll be more towards a final draft. But I guess I'm wondering how that, yeah. I guess I want to jolt the audience and get them to start thinking about something like this too, that it's possible, that there are victims and survivors out there, and not many are talking, but they are there. And it would be nice to make enough money to make a $5,000 donation to MenHealing. So yes, I would love to be making that kind of money at some point, but that's, yeah, that comes with just moving through life. But yeah, first and foremost, I want to continue to make my art and my music, so I'll be doing that.
It's fantastic. I think all of you sharing what 1 year and 5 year looks like out, or looking at your future. I heard Greg Louganis speak one time, and he talked about when we spend time with our secrets, we are lonely because we're spending time with our secrets. But when we let those secrets out, there's more room for love, there's more room for joy, and there's more room for peace. And I have to agree, when he said that, I know it really resonated with me, and all of you seeing how healing and recovery can open up to the world to different options is amazing. And so my very last question, and then I'll ask for a closing comment from each of you, but my very last question is, if you could recommend one book, the survivors, what's one book that you would recommend the survivors?
A book that is changing my life right now, and there's many out there, and I hate that I have to choose one, but the book that is resonating with me right now is called The Disease to Please. And it's about people pleasing, but also about the trauma that surrounds that. So yeah, Disease to Please is my book for now.
Great, thank you. David?
I would say Victims No Longer by Mike Liu. I got that in '91, and it's a book that I've referenced throughout my recovery.
Fantastic, thank you, David. Z?
For me, it's an oldie but a goodie called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's all about how the body stores trauma. And then there's a new one out. I can't just pick one. I work out and I do weightlifting, and there's a new one out called Lifting Heavy Things. And it's all about healing trauma through working out and lifting weights. So that's what I would recommend.
Fantastic. And Andrew?
I'd have to say the Loving Parent Guidebook. It's about working on your inner child, inner teenager. It has exercises for you to do that have been very powerful for me. I've been working on it for almost a year. I'm almost halfway through the exercises. I'm like almost halfway through the book. So it's been really powerful. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if I could ask you 2 words, what 2 words do you want to leave tonight to those that attended the session? What are 2 words that you want to leave? Could be how you're feeling. It could be about your recovery, but what are 2 words that you would leave for those that are, again, got over 25 people here tonight? What do you think? If you don't think of something, you know our titles, Trauma to Joy, but go ahead. All right, Ben. And
I would say show up. Those are my 2 words.
show up. All right. I'm also seeing in the chat, while I'm giving all of you a chance to think of those 2 words, the chat is now open. You can go down and click on the blue and go to everyone and send any kind of message that you like. So Ben's is show up. How about one of the others?
I would say freedom happens.
Freedom happens. Thank you, David.
For me, it would be worth it.
Worth it.
I have to say keep going.
And those of you that are on the session tonight, we would love to see your 2 words as well, as we talk more and more about trauma to joy. But if you want to put your 2 words in there, feel free to do that as well. So I'd like to just, again, let's, for those of you that know where your reaction buttons are, if we can give a thumbs up or a thank you very much to our panelists, Andrew and Ben and David and Z. Thank you for being willing to share a part of your journey and sharing about how you have moved and are still moving from trauma to joy. And so it's just great to be here with everybody. We're going to hear a little bit more from Jim about the donations and how it's going. You may say, wait a minute, is this a telethon? What are you doing here? What we're trying to do is to spread the message to other survivors and to allies of sexual abuse. And we know that there are times that based upon affordability, we have people that attend the weekend of recovery and are not able to donate much. And for that, your donations are used there, but it's also used for us to be able to reach more survivors, as you've heard tonight. And then again, if you want to be an ambassador for MenHealing, please follow us on Instagram. Go find us out on Facebook, and we would love to hear a little bit more about your story as well. So with that, I'm going to take it and over to Jim. And Jim, you can help us close out this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for everyone who shared this evening, the 4 of you for being here, Rob for hosting, and thanks for all of you who showed up to be here. Yeah, we really want to invite everybody. MenHealing, we pride ourselves in being a grassroots organization. So for everybody to become part of the community, that's one way to do it. We really are trying to promote the idea of being ambassadors as we do this movement. So beyond what we were able to raise here, we had the $5,000 donation from Alex and Jeff. We raised about a couple $1,000s from those of you who are here. I really invite you as you go away tonight, if you know anybody else in your support network that you can alert to what we're doing, to contribute to that goal to reach the 5,000 so we can get an additional amount from Alex and Jeff. That would be really, really very much appreciated. And stay in touch with us through our newsletters and through our announcements. We got a lot of exciting programs coming up. A lot of our programs are initiated by people from the ground up. One example, just to throw a kind of a plug in for this that's coming up within the next month actually, we had a playwright who's in New York City who just wrote a play on male survivorship. It's a tremendous play. And he found us on the web, contacted us, and asked if we would like to work with him to get a production going in New York City. So on October 15th, we're going to be doing in a theater with actor equity cast. We're going to be doing a script reading of the play about male sexual victimization. Very compelling play. And we'll be live streaming that. So anybody who wants to watch it who's not physically near New York City, that will be on October 15th. Check it out, register, pass along to your friends. So again, our effort to find whatever novel and innovative ways to reach people and spread the word. Who would have thought when we started with our Weekends of Recovery, we'd be making videos of people telling their stories, and we're now helping to produce a play in New York City right off Broadway. We're beginning to get materials on tablets for 75,000 prisoners who are now receiving materials who usually wouldn't be having this kind of materials here. We have our support groups now, and we're going to be extending those beyond just alumni to just anybody who needs a support group. So give us your ideas, help support us, stay involved, keep networking, and let's keep building the community so we can change the whole silence and invisibility of male survivors so that we can continue healing to more and more people. So again, thank you for being here. Send us your ideas, and thanks for your support. Thanks, Rob, for hosting this tonight. Thanks, Jordan, for all your technical help and your artistic creativity with the outreach we do. And thank our board members, our facilitator team, and our support staff.